You know what's cool about real estate? You can actually screw up and still make money, to a point. My name is Chatto, and I've been a landlord for over 25 years, and I wanted to discuss with you today 3 landlording decisions which, even though I made them and I would not make them again, I still made money. A lot of times these type of videos, YouTubers make these crazy titles like, oh my gosh, my life was almost destroyed and I was totally bankrupted from this one mistake that I made. Don't make the same mistake. Well, that's not really what this video is about. This video is more about like how you can still kind of screw up, make mistakes, and live through it and survive as a landlord. So anyways, my name is Chatto, and today I want to have a quick chat with Chatto about the 3 landlording decisions that I've made that, even though I made money, would not make again. So let's get into it. So we'll jump right into it with the first decision that I made is I bought properties in the wrong neighborhood. Moving forward, I would not buy any more properties in the wrong neighborhood. I've done it in the past, and I looked at the numbers and I said, wow, look at this. I'm buying the house for this price. It's going to rent for this price. My taxes are this much. I'm making this huge return on my money. Why would I not buy this property? Well, it's in a bad neighborhood. So there's a lot of issues that come up that make it a lot harder to manage properties in tough neighborhoods. Number one, right? A lot of my contractors are afraid to go there. A lot of my contractors are like, oh my gosh, I don't really want to go there. I'm kind of scared, right? So that's one issue. Another issue, right? There's a lot of crime. It's a bad neighborhood. You have a lot less people willing or wanting to live there. And the people that are willing and wanting to live there are usually less qualified. So the renter pool is much smaller. So there's a lot more evictions, right? There's a lot more uncollected rent. And because of the more evictions and the more uncollected rent, there's more turnovers, and turnovers are extremely expensive. And right on top of it, sometimes a lot of these tenants are very difficult on the property. They're very abusive to the property, and the turnover just costs that much more just to put somebody else in there who's going to destroy it again. I mean, not everybody, but there's a lot higher chance of it in these rougher neighborhoods. So that being said, luckily, right, I was fortunate enough to purchase these properties at the bottom of the market. The market 07, 08, the market crashed. 2010, 2011, the prices were still depressed. I bought these properties cheap enough and was willing to hold on to them long enough and deal with the drama long enough that they went up in value. And because they went up in value, I was able to sell them and actually not lose money, which was great. But one of them, I came extremely close. I got lucky to break even. I had so much trouble with it. I just couldn't deal with the property anymore. And the prices hadn't really gone up much yet. And I was actually able to break even because I sold it to another investor who works in these kind of neighborhoods all the time. That's his bread and butter. And I was able to sell it to him on owner financing in order to make the deal work so I get my money back. But the other ones, luckily, appreciated enough, and I sold them off, and I'm done with them. But that was a decision I wouldn't make again. That's the first one. The second decision that I would not make again is buying a rooming house. I purchased 2 rooming houses in my time, by my 25 years as a landlord. And the first rooming house wasn't really a rooming house. And I think I talked about that in a previous video. But I purchased this property. And then, to me, it was a no-brainer. Like, I bought it at a price that actually made sense as a single family. It was actually a good price, irregardless. But it as a rooming house, like, wow, I'm going to be cash flowing, all this money. This is amazing. So I buy this property, and I think you'll remember from the story from before. But this property wasn't actually a rooming house. It was set up as a rooming house. Tenants were living there like it was a rooming house. They all had separate leases like a rooming house, but it wasn't a rooming house. So the city let me know that, which I didn't do my due diligence. I probably should have. The city let me know that. Now I got all these tenants. I got to get the tenants out. I got to convert it to a single family. I got to get a family in there. And luckily it worked out because I bought it cheap enough. But I learned my lesson. So the second rooming house that I bought, right, I confirmed it actually is a rooming house. Yay! So now I have this rooming house, and I actually still own this one. And it cash flows. So that's cool. But would I buy another one? Probably not. Like the first issue with a rooming house is your cash is tied. Your cash is tied up because it is extremely difficult to get a loan on a rooming house. Banks don't like rooming houses for some reason. There's a couple that will loan on it at a higher interest rate, but it's really difficult to get your money back out of a rooming house. So that's one issue I have with rooming houses. The second issue that I have is there's a lot of turnover. So even though it's just a room, right? So it's really inexpensive to turn over the room like the work that needs to get done. I still need to pay a month's rent to my rental agent to re-rent the room. And there's a lot of turnover. You're lucky if people stay the full year. Sometimes you get people that are there for a long time, and we have a few tenants in that building that have been there a long time, but the other rooms keep turning over. And the other interesting thing, like it's a stepping stone for people, right? They're getting out of their house, they're getting their own place, they're not ready for a full house to rent, but they want to get out and they want to have some of their own, be on their own. That being said, there's a lot, unfortunately, we've had our share of people that while they qualified and why they look good on paper and they presented themselves well, ended up being not quite right. And they had, issues with paranoia, issues with other tenants in the building, all sorts of things that made them very difficult to manage. So that's something that kind of pops up every once in a while. So rooming houses are extremely difficult to manage. And luckily, I thought enough about it where I was able to actually work with a partner on it who is willing to handle the rooming house, and he pretty much does the heavy lifting on it. And I partnered with him so that he can do the heavy lifting. And he's actually done a really good job, and he's created almost a little bit of a community atmosphere with the people that are there, where they all kind of pitch in and help and do what they need to do to keep the property running well. So that's kind of cool. But that's a conversation for another day. I still wouldn't buy another rooming house. And the third decision that I would not make again is the decision to be Mr. Nice Guy, the decision to make exceptions. And I've spoke about this in the past, but I've had issues where one exception that can really get you is not taking the full rent, right? I had 4 people living in a house, and they're all living there, and they all work, but they weren't affording the rent. The rent at that point was $1,200 a month, and they're coming up every month. Oh, they're at $900, they're at $1,000, they're at $1,100. Every month they're short. Every month they're short. Every month they're short. And I made an exception. Okay, I'll let you slide. Let's get you going. Let's get you going. And they never got going, right? And charging the late fee, still not getting going. And I let it go on, and they got used to it, and I got used to it, and I let it go on way too long. And at the end of the day, by the time it came to it, they were a couple months behind in rent years later. It took a couple years, right? And then, of course, I'm making the exception not to raise the rent because they can't afford it as it is. How can I raise the rent? So not only was I not raising rent, not only was I not getting the full rent, by the time it got to it, I eventually had to evict them, right? So now I had to do an eviction, do the big turnover, right? So that cost me a lot of money. And, I lost out on all that income that I could have made. Yet, even though I made that decision, I still made money with the property, right? Luckily, I was able to turn it over. I was able to get good tenants. I was able to change that up. But it's so easy. So like when I have a new tenant and the first time they're late, you're getting a late fee, right? That's it. You're getting your late fee. Like they need to know that. Like you need to set that precedent up front, because I, as a landlord, I'm providing you with a place to live. You got to give me some priority to pay my rent. And I'm going to do my best to provide a good place for you to live. I'm going to do my best to fix the property up, and I'm going to do my best to maintain it. And I can't do that if I'm not getting my rent. But that being said, so I strongly suggest that you don't make any exceptions around rent and around late fees, because once you do it and it becomes a thing, it becomes a thing. You need to set up your policies. You need to treat everybody the same, and you need to hold to those policies, because every time I make an exception, somehow it always comes back to bite me, no matter what it is, right? Oh, this person seems like the greatest tenant, and okay, they want to do that. No, right? A lot of times people, the one exception they always ask for is, hey, I'm moving out the end of this month. Can you please allow me to can you please allow me to use my security deposit towards my last month rent? No, 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 no. Right? The security deposit's already not enough. If you leave the place in bad shape, I'm stuck. If it turns out that you don't leave at the end of the month like you say you're going to leave, right? And I've had that happen, right? Now I'm a month behind in filing eviction, right? So it always leads to confusion whenever you change things up. And especially as you grow and as you have a staff, like they're not going to know what to do if every time something comes up, you're making an exception to the rule. So that's the third decision that I definitely don't want to make in the future. And even though sometimes maybe I do, but that's one thing I really do my best not to do is make exceptions to the rule. Hold everybody to the same standard. Don't make any exceptions and run it like a business. So that being said, hopefully this video was of value to you. We're in it about 11 minutes, right? And it was fun, right? Hopefully you had value. If you did, like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Any comments on any decisions that you made that you wouldn't make again, put them in the comments below. And again, I appreciate you guys watching another episode of Chat with Chatto. Have a good one. Bye-bye.